What's up, everybody? My name is Jacob Deaton, and thanks for coming to another episode of Southern Wedding Professionals, where we highlight some of the coolest people in the industry that provide services for clients like you. And today, I have a really cool group of, that I'm going to be interviewing. These two people I've actually known for a very, very long time. We're talking about the Equinox Orchestra. And we're talking about Jeremy Davis and Clay Johnson. Clay, how are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for asking. And now here's Jeremy.
What's up?
So, spoiler alert for everybody who's listening to this, I've known these jokers for a long time. So this could go in a lot of different directions. So fasten your seatbelt. It could get interesting.
We got the goods.
Yeah.
We know where the bodies are buried, Jacob Deaton.
they know all my skeletons and their skeletons.
Yeah, that's true. We can't say too much because
Jeremy, why don't you run us through just a broad stroke thing about the Equinox Orchestra, and then we'll dive into more specific stuff.
Sure, man. Good grief. I mean, we're the Fabulous Equinox Orchestra. We've been doing this for 20 years. I mean, we're from the great state of Louisiana. We moved on the day of Hurricane Katrina. We live in Savannah, Georgia. And when there's not a pandemic on, we are fortunate to travel all over the world. We have done lots of tours. We did some pretty long extensive tours. And one of those, at least, I know you were on with us, brother. We had a good time. Play a lot of corporate events. Play a lot of big swanky weddings and some really nice small ones too. We do a little bit of all of it. Truly blessed to do what we do, though.
That's amazing. And I mean, so let's actually start with maybe how you guys came together as a team, and I'll let you guys take it from there.
So what happened, way back many years ago in the small town of West Monroe, Louisiana, Jeremy and I, we didn't know each other, but we both entered into the 7th grade. Jacob, you've heard us tell the story too many times. You can tell it for us, but you're very gracious in letting us tell the story. I'll never forget the time that we were on tour and we had to show up late for a gig, and you in the rhythm section went ahead and told our story as if you were us on the stage. That was at Enox.
So dumb.
One of my finest moments, by the way.
And what was funny, that was our hometown, and so everybody was laughing at your jokes because I knew the story. But anyway, so Jeremy and I in 7th grade we met, and we were in the band together. We went through junior high and high school, and went to college at Louisiana Tech University. The whole time we were playing music together, and developed a really strong friendship. And we gathered around us. We just happened to have in our circle. I say we gathered around. We just all kind of fell into the circle of friends with some really stellar musicians. And started playing with the different bands, and through the course of time, Jeremy started the Fabulous Equinox Orchestra there in Monroe, Louisiana, and I came in to sing from time to time. And I didn't know anything about singing a big band, but
he figured it out.
I figured it out. Jeremy had learned all the wrong ways to lead a band up to that point.
I could write a book.
And you could write a book. and so, man, it's how many, literally, if we're, no jokes aside, it's been 20, I'm
dating.
Okay. It's like almost 30 years.
That's crazy town.
It's over 30 years.
I don't know.
It's because we wouldn't have been 15 in 7th grade.
Yeah.
I mean, you may.
We're getting old, Jacob. We're getting old.
Yeah, it was a long time ago we met and started doing music. So it was crazy. It's been a long time.
I mean, for a partnership like that to last that long, I mean, we know as musicians, it's just hard to find people that you work with so well day in and day out, and that you can go through the ups and the downs with, that you can rely on, and that you can trust. And, for you guys to meet in like 7th grade, is that what it was you said? Or
yeah,
7th grade or 7th grade. I mean, it really is a special thing. I mean, that's something that, like, I mean, it's 1 in a million in so many.
I completely agree. You're right. I mean, I think it's because, I mean, we love all the same stuff. You know, we both have 2 sisters and have no brothers. We're kind of yin and yang personality wise in some respects, and we're exactly the same in other respects. But we get along. We jokingly say we get along better than we do with our wives. You know, we can tolerate kind of an infinite amount of one another. But the things that I'm really good at, or maybe I should say some of the things that I'm not so good at, Clay is great at, and kind of vice versa. Even though we are still great at a lot of the same things, and we have the same goals, we have the same heart, we have the same values. So it makes it easy. But you're right. It is crazy unique and really special.
And you'd be surprised, Jacob, how many times we have heard people say that very thing to us. In fact, we've had agents and presenters and you know, people who are in the arts world who are you know, who have a lot of clout and prestige, who have told us, like, that's what makes you guys special. That's what makes you guys stand out. It makes you unique. Your vibe and your, you know, the way you interact with each other kind of speaks to the way you're gonna treat other people and the way you're gonna behave in the world. So in fact we had one guy corner us and said, you 2 guys better always do business together. You better not ever split up, because it won't work. If you try to do stuff by yourself, it's not ever gonna work. You're like, okay. good point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so rare. I mean, I've had partnerships that have failed, you know, and so many people I know that have had partnerships in various types of businesses have failed. And, you know, I actually heard a old wise tale, or a wise word of advice once upon a time when I started in this music industry. And we were, you know, I was speaking with this particular individual about, you know, starting, you know, partnerships with people and stuff like that. And, you know, his homage was always, you know, partnerships are destined to fail. And you guys are literally the living proof that that's not always the case.
Well, you know, it's funny, Jacob. I think you're right. I mean, like Clay said, he alluded to in the beginning, we learned everything the hard way. We had a band that toured all over the country, and that you know, I ran all the business and did everything official, but I was just an equal member of the band. And that band broke up, and again, I really did learn how not to do everything. I mean, it was like we're on the road. I mean, 280 days a year. You know, we had some of the guys who were in Chris Stapleton's band now, some of the guys who were in Lou Bryan's band now, some of the guys who are in the Wu-Tang Clan now, which is crazy. We were all in one band together with Clay and some other friends, and then we learned how not to do everything. So we think we really did take a lot of let's just call it a doctorate in street cred and how to do things and not do things into this business venture. So we had a lot of doing it wrong before we kind of, you know, got this real partnership together.
And another thing that I think that kind of sets what we do, I guess in a little different frame, is that Jeremy and I didn't start off as business partners. We didn't start off in life together saying, hey, let's start a business, or let's do entertainment, or let's be in a band. We just started off, honestly, we started off as our mothers forcing us to have sleepovers. And that was like the worst possible torture you could put on either one of us, was to force us in a room, make us spend time with each other. I mean, we developed a friendship first, and we developed a kind of a bond and a doing life together through school. And that, in that sense, I don't like to call what we do a business partnership, because I mean, it is in a sense, but I mean, the business could go away tomorrow and we'd still be friends. You know, it could all just, you know, just dissolve. And if we had met, you know, and started doing this 10 years ago, it probably wouldn't have lasted, because we wouldn't have had that foundation of just you know, being friends and doing life together. You know, I think that's kind of that's what sets it apart, I guess, in a unique way.
So continuing on with the idea of like putting in this like really long investment of friendship and being in an original band that traveled and did 200+ dates a year, that project ends. Did the Equinox Orchestra sort of start like immediately after that, or was there like a lull of time? And what sort of brought you to the overall concept that you're at now with Equinox?
Sure. It's funny, we had a little jazz trio. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to play jazz. I was awful. And, but I was figuring it out. We had a little jazz trio that plays Wednesday night. And we had a piano player named Dr. Pearson Cross, who teaches at, University of Louisiana at Lafayette, and Derek Mixon, the drummer for Chris Stapleton, was in the band. We had a little thing, and we were like, what are we going to call this little side project? This is still while the other band was going on. And somebody suggested, actually, I think it was Derek that said, I always thought it would be cool to have a band called Equinox, like the John Coltrane tune, Equinox. So that's what it was. It started exactly that simply, and, whatever. So as soon as Howard Shaft ended, I'd already started hustling, corporate gigs and, private jobs with this little jazz thing. And then it just kind of became more of my focus. And then I remembered how much fun we had playing big band music in college. And I simply called all the best jazz musicians from Grambling State University, Louisiana Tech University, and University of Louisiana Monroe, and we made a big kind of all-star jazz band. And we were like, it was a big band, huge big band. And we played every Monday night, just rehearsed until we finally got a gig somewhere. And it just kind of progressed from there. Eventually we started bringing Clay to town, because by that point he already moved away. And when Clay came back on the scene, the music changed from being like what a college jazz ensemble plays, which is real heady and it's fine musically, but it's not commercial in any stretch of the imagination. We changed it up, and we started playing Sinatra tunes and Michael Bublé tunes and tunes that people loved. And that really is when it took a while, but that's when we really fell into our identity as we are today.
So when Clay enters back into the mix, and you're getting together with all these guys every Monday, I mean, was that like a year's worth of like just putting in the time and the work and putting together arrangements to like build the foundation of everything? Was a year, 2 years? How long a time was that?
It was probably a year of playing gigs around Monroe. And I actually I stumbled across a picture of the first gig we played with the big band. And it was the dumbest thing ever, because we wore all black suits, just like, kind of the same thing, except it was July in Louisiana. And I look at the picture like, whose idea was this outfit? Because we were just dying. It was so hot out there. But it took off really quickly. I mean, just for the sheer weirdness of it, I'm saying? It's like, where are you going to go see a big band, right? I mean, and the fact that we had this thing and it was cool. And so it took off really quickly. And then, fast forward, I came out to Savannah, fell in love with Savannah on vacation, because Clay was actually doing some work out here in the summer, and fell in love with it, brought my wife out, like, this is a great place. And I promised her a long time ago that we'd move away from North Louisiana at some point. And we made the decision to move and relocate to Savannah. So on the very day of Hurricane Katrina was the day we moved. And we planted here. We found one or two guys that knew everybody on the scene musically, and we started the Fabulous Equinox Orchestra over again. And the very first show that we did in Savannah was a Friends of Johnny Mercer show. It was an organization, a nonprofit organization that kind of paid homage to Johnny Mercer and studied his music and history and all the fun stuff behind the songs. They presented a show with the Fabulous Equinox Orchestra in the Lucas Theater, and it was sold out. It was the biggest show we've ever done, and it's really been off to the races ever since then. That was 15 years ago.
Wow. So the first gig you get in town, you get linked up with this nonprofit. You put on the best, like, first stance PR campaign for a new brand in a new city, and it sells out. So
it was game on. It was game on from the second we started.
Wow. That's I mean, that's exactly what any brand would want to do whenever they're trying to gain roots in a particular community, is to connect with a whole bunch of people at the same time. And I mean, and I mean, and I don't really have an intimate knowledge of Savannah's music scene as it pertains to that, but I'm going to imagine there's probably not a lot of what you do there.
No,
so that was also like, probably a big portion of it, right?
Oh, for sure. There's not. There are a few jazz musicians, but specifically guys who could sit and read the chart, and like a ninja. I mean, there's not. Matter of fact, 3/4 of the band all came from the University of North Florida in Jacksonville. They drove up, and a couple of the guys came from Atlanta. A couple of the guys lived in Savannah. But it really was a unique thing from the beginning. And we found commercial success. We made it. And of course, fast forward a couple of years, the band really is becoming what it is now. Our brand is uniquely Southern and sophisticated, but still very full of self-deprecating humor. And I mean, everything from Elvis to Johnny Cash to Ray Charles to Texas swing to gospel songs to with a Louisiana attitude and spirit. That really is us. I mean, when we say big band, people think 40s music, Glenn Miller, Tommy Dorsey. All we just use the big band as the luxurious musical vehicle of choice. Musically, we'll play Shaka Khan before we play Glenn Miller. I mean, that's just kind of, we're going to mix it up and have some fun.
Right. And that's what makes your particular outfit, fit for the 21st century, because you do have that versatility in your song list. And I know this obviously firsthand from touring with you guys all those years ago, which I can't believe how long that's been, by the way.
No, dude, it's been crazy. I was looking at that today.
One of the things that we have discovered in that, though, is that as much as we love the fact that we're super diverse, what we've kind of been faced with, in fact, most recently, is the inability for certain people to kind of peg us and say, okay, here's who these guys are, here's what they do, here's in a sentence what you can expect from them. And that's I mean, and that's just kind of advice that anybody would give to any artist who wants to kind of find their niche and find their corner and find their space to operate in, is to be able to have that. So we've got a lot of great material out there.
But we don't really fit in a box.
That varies all over the place. Yeah. And so trying to find that lane is it's not easy, but it sure is dang fun. We're having a good time doing it for sure.
What makes I know how challenging it is. Let me start over with that statement. Like, I know how challenging it is to do what you do night in, night out. What do you guys do to keep it like interesting and fun for you guys? Like, is it, I mean, you can get bogged down in the details of putting together an event for a very special client, but like, what is it about you guys that makes you guys want to keep doing this year in and year out? Because we're ultimately in the service business, right? So, the service business is a hard one. It's hard. So there's a lot of pressure in what we do. What is it that makes you guys tick?
I think I can think of 4 or 5 things. I'm sure Clay can too. I think this is what summed it up for us. One of the first big shows we did, there was a guy who came up after the show and he said, I was drugged here by my wife, kicking and screaming, because I'm not a jazz fan or a big band fan. Didn't know what you were. But I got to tell you, I loved every single song. I loved every single arrangement. You guys are hilarious. And I felt like I made 2 new best friends. And for us, that was the moment. That was the aha moment. That's what's special about us. That's what we're going to do. And that makes it easy to do it night after night after. And of course, we add new music all the time. We're always thinking out of the box. And we have great arrangers in the band now more than ever. Because we traveled and were very successful for a long time without having like a real house arranger. Now we have several of them. So we can do new stuff every day. And that keeps it fresh. I know you might have some ideas too.
Well, I was just going to say, I think, Jacob, you phrased that question in a way that I wouldn't have expected, but the way you phrased the question, I think makes, you had the answer in the question, because a lot of people in our line of work don't see what we do as a service. They see what we do as, you sit there and you appreciate what I'm going to do for you. You sit there and you appreciate the entertainment I'm about to offer you. And kind of putting the onus of the enjoyment on the person in the audience, instead of saying, what, I have fun doing this. I have a blast serving you, and this is what brings me joy. And so I'm gonna do this to the best of my ability. And because if you're not having fun, I'm not having fun. If the audience isn't having fun, I'm not having fun. And so we're serving, we're serving joy, we're serving celebration, we're serving enthusiasm, we're serving nostalgia, we're serving memory, we're serving all these great things that we're serving folks, and when they receive that and they appreciate it, then that just that makes it all worthwhile. It really does.
And from an organizational standpoint too, I mean, it all starts with the head, right? If your spirit is of such, then that trickles down to the people that are within your organization, and they sort of take specific ownership of that as well as a part of their spirit in performing. And that's always going to be at varying degrees, because I mean, you own Equinox Orchestra, and maybe the musicians that you have don't, but I think it really does. That spirit is sort of, that's, if you don't have that inside of you, I was just telling somebody the other day that reached out to me that was considering getting into this business. I was like, if that spirit is not inside of you at all, and you're just seeing this as like, I'm going to make some quick money, run away, go do something else.
Wrong direction. Yeah,
you are heading in a direction of a world of pain.
That's exactly right. It's true.
And we make a little money in a short period of time, but it's
and we have a great team. I'll say this, I mean, over the years, we have accumulated a massive group of amazing musicians. At any given point, we have 3 or 4 bass players and 3 or 4 drummers and 2 or 3 piano players and literally 150 great horn players that can do our show, from LA to New York to to New Orleans and Dallas and Jacksonville. So we got a big team. However,
and let's not forget the most important people, Jacob, this, are our assistants and the people who answer the phones for us and keep our books organized for us, and because without these most important people, we would we'd still be lost in the woods.
That's such a good point. To finish my thought is, because of COVID, we have done everything together. We got our home team has been on every job since March, every single gig, which has made things a really, really special. I mean, because everybody owns the vibe. Everybody feels it. Everybody understands and appreciates, because ain't nobody else working. I mean, Jacob, you know how it is. I mean, there's very few of us out there working. We've been working nonstop, and we've been careful. We did probably 20 weeks straight of live streams where we kept the bills paid, because of the fact that we were kind of really sheltering in place together, and we were we scaled the band down. We set the band up in a social distance kind of way, and that really grew a lot of camaraderie between us, and it made a real special vibe where everybody, kind of get back to the point you were making, is really does everybody kind of owns the vibe. They know what we're about, and they all celebrate it. But yeah, Clay's right. I mean, we our assistants really kind of are the glue. It took us a long time before we realized we had to have help, and now that we do, we will never, ever, ever, ever go back to doing it the way we did before.
That's right.
Well, I mean, we both use the same people, so shout out to VA USA for all the things.
Amen.
That's right.
Yeah, they are good people.
Mary Lane and Brooke and the whole team. They're
a sponsor, right? They're sponsoring this podcast, right?
right. And I have to shout out to my assistant Annie, because otherwise I would not be able to sit here, because I'm like peripherally seeing things fly up in my email boxes. I'm having this awesome conversation with you guys, and I know that she's handling all of it. So it's incredible.
That's great.
It makes you feel good, when you got somebody like that in your corner. I know how that is too. We have Brooke and Allison on our team that are handling everything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a joy, and organizational stability. For an outfit as complex as yours, is always something I'm sure a client would wants to feel. They want to feel taken care of, and have their hands on deck.
Absolutely.
That touch.
And it's for us, it's very forward facing. I mean, they, like when we have client meetings, whether it's Zoom meetings or phone calls, initial conversations, they go through our website, our assistants intercept it, and then put them on the calendar, make them feel special. And then when our calls, what happens is Brooke or Allison will call the client, and then they'll merge me in on the phone call. And then they're taking notes. So I'm just able to talk and stay in my lane and do exactly what I do, and connecting with that bride or planner or corporate person or someone throwing a party or whatever, or a theater that wants us to come to Dallas, Texas, you know, in April to do a show for whatever, I'm able to just focus and do what I do best, knowing that my people are taking notes and they got all that stuff done. And I think it makes the client feel like, hey, this is buttoned up. And if we happen to ask for a real premium on the price, then they can see that these people have it together. And I think it really does speak a lot to, like you said, our organizational structure when clients feel that way, make them feel special.
Yeah, I mean, it's 100% that you don't get a second chance to make that first impression when they come through the door, and they've made that leap of faith by just filling out your contact information to then alert you that they're interested. From that moment on, it's game on, and
Right.
and you being able to show that, you know, that sort of first class, you know, treatment. I mean, speaks to why your organization has probably been so successful.
Yeah, buddy.
That's cool.
Yeah. So continuing on, I'd like to kind of take a moment to sort of speak about, you know, you kind of touched on it a second ago with COVID, but like how has your organization been able to like more specifically deal with the challenges of COVID and in your geographic region?
Well, we've been able to, like Jeremy said, have these online concerts, which this is something we discovered. We're grateful for our fans. We have the best fans in the world because we did these basically free shows on Facebook Live before we had any idea what it required, and they're really pathetic. You can go back on our Facebook page and see just how poorly we did. But our fans were so generous. We put a free show out there and said, "Hey, look, we know this is a free show, but all of our gigs got canceled, and we'd appreciate it if you buy tickets." And people bought tickets to a free show, which was just supportive of us and made us feel so grateful and so thankful. And our fans felt like they were helping, and they were indeed helping to kind of for us to pay our team, for them to kind of pay their bills and keep the lights on and all that kind of stuff. And it really was good. And so that was one part of it. Another part of it was, Jacob, we had so much free time on our hands. We've been looking for 5 years for a time to get back in the studio and record our next album. And we finally had the time. And not only did we get into the studio to record an album, we went in the studio and recorded 3 albums. And we're rolling them out this year now. We've got these 3. And I'm telling you what, I couldn't be more proud. I know Jeremy couldn't either. I mean, what we've been able to create has just been, it's been incredible. Been so grateful to do that, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. It's so good, so good.
Yeah, it was a good use of our time, I think, just to change speeds a little bit from being on the road and touring to being able to you know, focus on studio stuff, and they're completely 3 totally different diverse albums. But even back to the streaming thing, you know, we joke around and say they were terrible. I mean, the performances were good, but you know, streaming's hard. You know what I mean? It's like trying to make all this stuff sound good to somebody's phone is a challenge. I mean, even when you got, you know, thousands of dollars worth of microphones and sound guys, we just ended up hating it. Decided early on that we weren't even going to own any of that gear because we didn't want to fool with it. Of course, we ended up buying it anyway. But one of the things that we really pushed forward, and we made a decision a long time ago, that we got to a point where we truly love what we do, and we're not ever going to stop doing, you know, God willing, we're going to keep doing this until, you know, we just can't do it anymore, until they drag us off the stage or whatever. As long as people are enjoying what we do, we're going to keep doing it. However, I know I specifically had this idea a long time ago that I did not want every bit of my money, my income. I'm a sole provider. My wife is an amazing woman. She's a homemaker. We have 3 kids. I didn't want all of my personal money to be directly attached to me being on the stage playing. I wanted to be able to have some income using my skill set beyond just the saxophone and, you know, singing and doing whatever. So, and we started Equinox Entertainment a few years ago, but we really poured the coals to it. And we're curating music all over the region, man. We curate music 7 days a week down at the JW Marriott in Savannah, Georgia, which is a $400 million hotel. We curate every night of the week at the old Pink House. We do a lot of stuff I mean, Jacob, we produced 8 shows on New Year's Eve, and every one of them went off without a hitch. I didn't get one phone call that night, which is a miracle, but just really to the testament of our assistants. You know what I mean? You know how that is. But you know, COVID we've been thankful that we have that, because you know we still are a catastrophic amount of cash short of what we were this time, you know, last year. You know, it's been that way for all of us. I know you're the same way. So we're thankful to have that extra source of income, you know, as it relates to what we do musically.
And our that synergy, I mean, and that's really what we call it. I mean, it's a great word, because our just continuing to put ourselves out there, with Equinox Entertainment, with what was happening at PRD, and with, you know, doing our live streaming thing, just constantly nose to the grindstone kind of stuff. It generated other things as well. We got a call. I mean, this was totally unplanned, out of the blue, ridiculous. We get a call 4 months ago from a friend of ours in Los Angeles that we literally have not seen in 15 years. She's producing movies out there now. She called us and said, "Hey guys, I just saw y'all on the internet, and I just thought of y'all because I got this movie I just made, and it has all this music in it that I can't afford. I'm wondering if I can pay you guys to write some music for this movie." And we're like, "Absolutely, we can do that." So something else we can kind of, you know, put into our into our resume is that now we've written, you know, music and produced music for a major motion picture, which comes out next month. So we're really excited about that.
Starring Scott Baio and Christy Swanson, which is also a bonus.
Charles in Charge. Charles in Charge and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So
and Equinox Orchestra. That's what I'm talking about. Good combination.
Well, I mean, I think you guys have the right idea. I mean, it's some people saw this downtime, if you will, as a chance to rest and a chance to, you know, and also, like, you know, maybe they weren't very excited about it. Maybe they didn't see the positive in it. Maybe they didn't see it an opportunity to sort of grow in a different way. But obviously, or an organization like you guys have done that. And, you know, there's going to be, you know, treasures, so to speak, on the other side of this,
For sure.
that become fruitful because you were able to shift and sort of continue to make your brand, you know, invest in your brand and make it more aware to the people around it. And no better example than the movie scenario, which is,
yeah, we had some wise mentors that kind of helped us at the beginning of this thing as we're talking through losing. I remember posting a post on Facebook that said, "Friends in the music business, get used to this word, these 2 words, force majeure." It's French thing.
I remember that post.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Because it came like a hurricane that week. I mean, it was like everything started canceling. And a friend said, "Hey, look, this is an opportunity." Well, he's a friend of yours too, Pat Hazel, a comedian. It was like, you know what? Just like you alluded to earlier, there's going to be something on the other side of this. And the people who remain relevant and who stay positive and who produce content are going to reap the reward. Because you know what? You and I talked this before, Jacob. I mean, there's going to be a whole lot less of us after this is over. And,
just
you know,
like restaurants.
Exactly. Just like restaurants. It's the same thing.
Whatever restaurants can stay afloat, they're going to be killing it. And I want to go back to the whole partnership thing too, because the reason that I think this has been so successful is because I for the most part, I kind of took the typical artist mentality of, you know, I'm just gonna sit at home and you know, be depressed and not, you know, not try at all. And then, but Jeremy's not going to take it lying down. He's getting up. He's doing it. He's out there kind of, you know, he made all this happen, which is great. And on those rare occasions where Jeremy felt like he wanted to, you know, jump off a cliff,
hang it up. I'm done.
And drive his Sprinter van into the Grand Canyon and kind of end it all. I could at least have a little bit of like, no, man, those were the days that I was positive, like, no, man, this is going good. So, so the partnership has been a really big help. Just having, you know, having that bond, you know, iron sharpening iron, and you know, this woven bond, not being easily broken, and helping each other out. So anyway, it's been good for sure.
Yeah, I'm really saddened by the people that maybe aren't going to make it out of this. It hurts, to see people go that have decided to move on from the industry that we're in variety of circumstances. Some people that were really close to me, some people that maybe were on the periphery or whatever. But that's and that's okay. It's totally fine, and there's no harm in that because everybody's in a different place in life, and you got to respect that. But yes, for those, I believe, on the other side of this, to continuing to stay relevant in a time of which that we've never seen in this industry. I mean, I think the wedding industry is like what, a 70-something billion industry per year.
Crazy, sure.
I mean, for something like this to occur, where the average wedding spend is like over $30,000. For a whole entire $70+ billion industry to be brought to its knees, for people like you that's had the vision to really, keep grinding and waking up every morning when maybe it doesn't really feel like you want to work, or what's the point?
Right.
Maybe I should just stay in bed. Yeah, I should just do something else. Like wake up every morning and go to your office and get work done. It's a real testament of like how much you really want to be a part of this business.
It's good.
Well, Jacob, out of all the zillions of musicians that we work with, there are, very few. Really, I don't even know if I can think of another one other than our crew and you, buddy. To be really honest with you, and this is not a slight. This is not a slight on any of our homeboys, because most musicians were cut from the same, cloth. We love to move people. We love to play music. We love to groove. We love all that stuff. But most of us like to sleep till noon, and there's nothing wrong with that. Most of us like to stay up till 4 a.m. That's fine. And most of them would rather just have a root canal than make a sales call, right? You know what I mean? And other than us and you, buddy, we, on the national level, we know a lot of people that have great, very successful bands that are absolute business ninjas that we have learned from, but they're few and far between. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's one of those things where there's just not most of us. If you have any business acumen whatsoever, then this is the business to be in, because there's no crowd. You know what I mean? It's not. There's a crowd at the top. And there's a dozen or so, maybe 2 dozen people across the country that are competing for the highest level jobs. And to speak to that for just a second, there's a guy in New York. I won't even say his name, but his band, I tell this story all the time, will hit for $100,000 at the Rainbow Room on a Saturday night. Now, why does that happen, right? Is his band any better than your band or my band? Probably not. Not really. Musically, whatever they're better is such a slight degree, or even if they are, or if my band's better or your band's better, the civilians do not know the difference. We give them way too much credit. However, they will notice the fact that their suits fit right. They will notice that those 3 girls are beautiful and they can sing. They've worked out all this stuff. The physical look of the band and the experience that it creates is what gets those gigs, the $100,000 gigs. That's it. It's not that the band was just so great that they just commanded this premium. That's just not unless you're just the next Miles Davis of whatever you do. That's not the way it works. The way it works is the people who get those jobs, and those jobs come through a very narrow channel, by the way, that you have to work really hard. But that's something that we learned a long time ago, that the people who are the gatekeepers, they don't look at the same things that we look at as musicians. They're looking for different things. And, knowing that, it makes it a lot easier battle to fight.
Jeremy keeps getting phone calls.
I'm sorry. I broke the cardinal rule of podcasting, and I didn't turn my phone off. So I got 30 phone calls during the middle of this thing. So sorry about that.
No, it's okay. No, you're right. It is. And it's really hard to convey that message to a band, right?
Oh yeah.
It's me as a brother to a brother, a band owner to a band owner. You understand like how important it is. All of these presentation things, are and how you appear to people, how important those are to not only referrals later on down the road, but the actual moment to where somebody experiences your organization for the first time. How do you
Wait.
communicate that in a way that really like I mean, because obviously you've been very successful in doing it. You and Clay both. I mean, how have you guys communicated that message to your fans?
It's hard. I'll be honest with you. One thing that I'm thinking of right now is it doesn't always go so well. You know what I mean? Most of the time people get it. We talk about it, and I think that our crew buys into what we're saying. They understand because we basically say it in a way that's honoring to them. You guys are the best. What you do is spectacular. You are one of the greatest doing what you do of anybody in the world. However, most of the people that are watching this show tonight, they're not going to understand the depths of your musical ability. They're going to know they had fun, right? They're going to know that they had fun, and that's what they're going to know. But everybody doesn't like to hear this. Matter of fact, we parted ways with one of our most important, most powerful, presences on stage over this. I mean, they just didn't like the idea of that at all, and we're willing to, argue with me about it in front of one of the planners that I had, not in front of it, but in the lead up to, of one of the most important event designers that I've ever worked with. I've had lunch with this woman on 3 continents. I've gone to New York City just to have lunch with her, right? And we spelled it out in great detail. And this one cat showed up and just wanted to argue about it, and it was just like, that was just the end. It was like, okay, he was willing to sabotage it all, and not willing to, and it, and to his credit, I mean, he's a fiery dude and just had a bad day, and I understand that. We all have bad days. But the questions you asked is, how do you convey it? And I think you have to be sensitive, and you have to look at people, the end goal. But sometimes it's a message that a lot of people just really push back on. They don't like the idea that the people who are paying for the party may know more about how their outfit fits than their music. I understand that's not what we practice our horn and instruments for, but in reality, once you make it to a certain level, if you want to get to the next level, that's what the difference is. The difference isn't practice 6 more hours a day, because that ain't going to make a difference. And I think you get that.
Yeah, it's a really hard thing to look at a musician and tell them that these people have heard, the people that you're trying to impress have heard a lot of music, and they're actually going to judge you on how your tie is tied, not how you actually play.
You're right,
it's
Jacob.
hard to say that to them.
It's hard to say. Well, and the other flip side of that is too, because people musicians can start to build some resentment. I understand that towards those people. However, this is how I combat that. I say, these people, yes, I understand, but the fact is, these people could afford to pay anybody in the world to come and play their party. I mean, literally. They could afford to dig up Elvis and drag him in here and do it. I mean, that's the kind of money these people have, right? And guess who they picked? They picked you. So let's not be judgmental of these people. Let's be thankful.
Yeah, and I was about to say, I don't want anybody in your listening audience to think that we're disparaging of the ability for these people to discern great music. They know great music. They've heard it all, that's why they're hiring us, because they've heard great music. But they also have a very high bar of excellence. That's why they are where they are. And so, because the bar of excellence is so high, I love the fact that you can play circles around everybody else on your instrument. But I want you to continue to play. I don't want your quality to be any less than what it is. But I want you to look nice. I want you to look really nice when you walk by these people. I want those people to say, wow, that guy is really sharp, and he plays the saxophone really awesome. That's really incredible. And he plays the trumpet, and this drummer right here just looks really, really great. We still have to correct guys that look like they crawled out of the dumpster before they come to a gig. Like, come on, guys, Come on.
But
They're looking at you. They can see that you're wearing shoes with holes in them.
And it's rampant. I mean, we do this every day at Plant Riverside District. You know, there's 7 days worth of music, and we put it in emails. We put it in text. I have my assistants call them, go through the whole thing, and then I mean, they have been read the riot act. It's like, guess what, guys? You're there because you can play. We know you can play. That's why you have the gig. Now you're going to be judged on several things. On how you deal with the people that parking, whether you're on time for sound check, whether you start on time. And sure enough, you know, we get there and, you know, one of the guys is wearing a tracksuit. It looks fine, right? But it's not a 4-star look, and he knows that. And we've communicated that in every possible way you can communicate. We've communicated it, and they still don't get it. So it's a challenge, Jacob. I mean, I don't really have the answers. I mean, I think we're doing our best to try to raise our level of our product, raise the level of the product to people that we're associated with, the bands that we work with. And it seems to be a kind of a bigger issue and a challenge to get people to kind of understand the bigger picture of the experience that they're creating for people that are buying music or whatever.
Well, that's exactly it, is that you have to get out of the head of this is a self-serving endeavor. Like, you are paying me X amount of dollars to show up and provide my service. Yes, we are. But ultimately, the goal is to provide the client with an experience that's unforgettable. And, and when you stop thinking about yourself and you start thinking about the other person that you're influencing, this is a wedding, this is a corporate event. Let's just use wedding, for example. This is the biggest day of this couple's life.
Right. Yeah,
you know,
special.
You have to come correct. You have to come correct on a level that is totally respectful of them, because they've chosen to involve you in the biggest day of their life, even though they don't even know who you are. And you know, that's it's a hard thing.
And that's why we say, look, our job to the wedding planners, the event planners, whoever, our job is to make your client feel like superstars. And if we don't make your client feel like superstars, then we have failed. But what we're going to do is we're going to go in there, we're going to celebrate them, or whoever, if it's a corporate event or whatever, they're going to feel really special because of what we're doing. Yeah. You know, don't make us feel special. We are the hired help. We get we understand where we fit in the food chain here. So we can't think too highly of ourselves. Yeah. And as long as you can put yourself, don't think too highly of yourself, then man, you're gonna do really great in this business and have a great time doing it.
But boy, that's hard for some people. You know what I mean? I mean, it really is. It's a hard thing to be a humble servant of an event like that. And of course, we play theater shows when it's more just about us, and we did a PBS special and it's about us, and that's cool. But a lot of times in these gigs where we're playing for, especially the big money gigs, and we're, like Clay said, we're there to serve these people. It's their most important memories being made, and we're there to deliver the wow. And delivering the wow has an exponential amount of things beyond the music. You know what I mean? And that really is where you win the day.
Yeah, and like I said, when you deliver that wow, every single time after that, somebody talks, and then the product grows, and then the people that are involved in the product get excited because they see more and more dates.
Dude, every single big endeavor we've ever done, we've gotten other gigs straight out of it. Whether it's a wedding or a corporate event, or we're touring. I remember we did one of the first big tours we did. We played in Florida. We were doing this. We did like 7 nights of theaters. And one night had like 5 presenters that run other theaters, and we played every one of them. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to bring your game face every time, because that's you're right. It always is reciprocating. You grow it that way.
What's in wrapping up here, I want to talk about a few things that are more specific to you two individually, because I always like to have a little thing at the very end of these podcasts that sort of bring everything full circle, but also like kind of gives an inclination as to who you guys are as individuals. So Clay, I'll start with you. Tell us something like that. Tell us something that you like to do with your free time that we maybe wouldn't expect.
Well, I am a student at Shepherd's Theological Seminary in Cary, North Carolina. I have worked in the ministry for years, and I do church ministry and missionary work and all those kind of things. So that is extremely important to me. I've also loved singing gospel music and anything music wise and church related. I love, and I know Jeremy can speak to this as well, but based on our mutual heart of ministry, we've developed something called Equinox Global Missions, which is a nonprofit that we use our music to bless other people. So that's kind of really what's important to me, and I know Jeremy can say the same thing, and with other things as well. Go ahead, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think this really is part of the reason why our relationship works, because we care about the same stuff. I mean, I one of the most special things to me is getting up in the morning, and with my family and having my coffee and just having a quiet moment in my devotional, and I'm super involved in my church, and one of the things that I would do all day long is the idea of like Clay mentioned, Equinox Global Missions is us taking the music and just to be a blessing to people. I mean, it is the coolest thing. Whether we're playing for children, we've been able to play for Holocaust survivors in Israel. We've been able to play for, World War II era, senior adults, and just watch them light up. Man, this guy came up. We were playing this assisted living facility one day, and the guy came up and he said, I had a memory for every song that you played. He had a big smile on his face, and I was totally in the moment. I said, I want to hear about his memories. I said, tell me about your memories, sir. And he goes, oh, I don't think my wife would want me to share these memories with you. I said, oh, they're those kind of memories. But that's the stuff that really does it for me. It does it for Clay, whether we're whether we're in India or Israel or Poland or Halifax, Nova Scotia, or somewhere in outside in Statesboro. I mean, we really do love people and love to connect with people, and that's kind of what we're about.
Isn't that the ultimate? Isn't that it? I mean, people. I mean, if you're not playing for people, then
that's right.
Well, you know what? It's funny, Jacob. It's funny that you mentioned that, because after 20 something weeks of straight playing to the internet, and we're good. There's a lot of us, so we can make each other laugh, and we have an advantage over someone with just a guitar in a corner playing to the internet. But we learned how much it means to have an interactive experience with a crowd. We already knew it, but we know it now. I mean, we know what the crowd brings.
To get you some likes on the.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! You got yourself a dog, Clay. But yeah, it is. It's funny. It is about the people, and never have we known it's more about the people than when COVID hit and we had to play to nobody.
That's the truth.
Yeah, I think we're all feeling it. You guys are in Savannah. There's a lot of amazing things to do in Savannah and a lot of places to eat.
Yes. Amen.
Amazing. Clay, give me some of your favorite eats in Atlanta.
In Atlanta?
I'm sorry, Savannah. My bad.
Let's say Atlanta. You got to go to the varsity. Is there
no one that lives here goes to the varsity, dude.
Well, man, Savannah, the cuisine is great. If I had to come to Savannah and just go to one place, I'd go to Leopold's and have Leopold's ice cream. Best ice cream in the world.
Yeah, and I wonder what flavor you would choose.
I bet because you've heard the story a million times, haven't you?
Look, if you don't get Tutti Frutti, you don't have any ice cream at all. That's all there is to it.
Johnny Mercer's favorite flavor. I would have to say that the quintessential meal in this town is unequivocally, in my opinion, the Old Pink House. It is deeply Southern and sophisticated and absolutely fantastic. We go there fairly regularly.
Get shrimp and grits.
Shrimp and grits. Can't beat it.
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, while I'm thinking about it, because I know you also you talk about it very briefly, and I don't want to. Let's talk about the destination of that Riverside. What's the phrase? I'm sorry. Plantation.
Plant Riverside District. Plant Riverside District.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about because I don't want that is like a whole destination for people.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's a $400 million JW Marriott hotel they call Plant Riverside District. It's right on the river. Like if you're familiar with Savannah, where River Street used to start was kind of where MLK comes down. That's where it started. Well, actually, it kind of started down from there, but they've extended the breadth of River Street. There's music 7 days a week. You go into the massive generator hall, which was the first place to use fossil fuel to make electricity. So Mr. Kessler, the owner of this establishment, is a brilliant man, had the idea of taking the elements of the fossil fuel, and kind of making that art, which is crazy. So when you go in there, there's the biggest geodes and crystals that you've ever seen in the world. It's like a museum. There's not anything better. And then there's a life-size statue of the skeleton of one of the biggest dinosaurs that ever roamed the earth. It's the biggest, and it's been cast in chrome. They found it in like Montana, and they had a paleontologist rebuild this thing. So you walk in, and it's magnificent. And he's got a B3 organ. He's got 2 Busendorfer Grand Imperial pianos in there. So it is visually stunning. There's 11 restaurants. There's sushi. There's Polish. There's barbecue. There's low country. There's 2 or 3 rooftop restaurants right on the river, and there's music every day and every night.
And it's all developed by a gentleman named Richard Kessler, who is a Savannah native. He grew up in Effingham County, and he came over with his whole family came over back in the 1700s. They can trace their lineage back. But anyway, it's part of the Kessler collection. There are several other Kessler properties here in Savannah, and they're all in their own unique way just incredible. But this development is it's
truly a destination.
It really is. And it's going to be it's the performance mecca here in Savannah, because there are 3 hotels in this one development. There's Plant Riverside District. That's what do they call it? The Generator Hall is one big hotel. There's another hotel called the 3 Muses, and the last one we built is called the Atlantic. And inside the Atlantic, in the center of that hotel is a 500-seat theater that they're building, and so they're going to have producing a lot of music there, a lot of theater type shows there. So it's I can't wait for that to open up.
We're thrilled for the opportunity to be responsible for all of that music, which is great.
Exactly.
Well, chances are, people, if you're in Savannah and you're somewhere and you're listening to music, it's probably these guys who's providing it. So make sure you check out Equinox Orchestra. Is it equinoxorchestra.com? That's what it is,
yes,
right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Make sure you check that out. See all their live dates. They're always doing really cool things, like the concert on top of the Perry Lane on top. They're always doing those types of stuff. I mean, just really cool, picturesque concerts with a view and with always some sort of memory attached to it. Jeremy, Clay, thank you so much for joining Southern Wedding Professionals and hanging out with me today.
Our
Thanks,
pleasure,
buddy. Good to see you,
God
man.
bless you, friend. Thank you.
Yeah,
So
man. I'm coming to see you guys soon. I promise.
anytime. Come on.
We're here.
We'll go eat.
Well, that's been another episode, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and make sure that you share this with your friends, because without sharing, we're not really caring. I don't know why I said that. I've never said that before, but it sounded right. So I'm going to go with it. Thank you.
like it.
And see you next time.